Hello and welcome to Crafting with Jane. Oh, exciting. I'm still looking at the lovely indigo blue. This was to get the paper out to show you. It's the Spring Florals mixed media box, and I showed you a couple of videos ago the unboxing of it, and there is just so much in this. If there's any left at all, do look at getting them. Today we're going to be using this lovely stamp, and I'm using the stencil as well, but we'll use that right at the end. So you can only get this in the box kit. So, you know, if there's still any left, do get them. Now, I have actually stamped this out already. And the reason that I've done that is because I wanted it all to dry beautifully so we can then do some colouring. And I'm going to colour it the same colour as on here. So we've got some yellow flowers, we've got some sort of peachy coloured tulips, and we've got some sort of pinky ones. So I'm going to work on those. I'm using my Derwent Ink Tints because they are so bright, and I really love colouring those. So we need a yellow and a mustard. So we'll have the yellow and the mustard to start off with. Is that mustard? Yes. Okay, so that's going to do our yellow flowers. Now what I'm going to do is, let me just move my... Okay, I'm going to put my pens down on here so they don't, I haven't got a huge amount of room on here. So I'm just going to move them out of the way just a little bit so I can then, here we go, I'm going to put them on there. So I can then show you the colouring part. So we're going to colour it this way, like this. And that's why I've done it. I've stamped it in Versifying Clair, and it's Morning Mist, which is sort of a grey, which is a little bit more subtle. So what I want to do is to move you in a bit. So let's move you in for doing the colouring, and then I can move this across this way a bit. And there we go. We should be able to do that in here, and I will just move it up as I go. Can I get it all in? Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm going to do this flower first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour all the way round in the bright yellow. And as I say, if you get a chance to get some of these pens, these are pencils rather, they are so vibrant that they just make the most lovely colour. So now I need to take the mustard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour in, and if you look at this you can see exactly where the colour comes. So I've got that as my what I want to shade in, and I'm just going through in on where the shade is. We've got a little bit up in on here and a little bit up in on there. Okay, the next flower is this one. And again, I'm doing exactly the same. So this one, we just need to just colour it all in the yellow. Am I doing it in the yellow? Yes, I am doing it in the yellow. So I just need to take it. Now, you don't need to be cover it completely, because we are going to be adding some water to it to just bring it up to the edges. But I'm taking this in like this, and then this is dark in on here, so I want these ones to come in dark, and then we've got some dark down in on here, just up in on the sides, a little bit in on here, and then this in here, which is obviously where the dark is. And it's quite good because where an artist draws in some darker pieces, it's easier to work on it. Now I'm just going to move you up just a tad for this one, and we'll do exactly the same in on here. So we're colouring it right the way through in the yellow. And you can see I'm not, you don't have to spend a huge amount of time with this, because we are going to be adding the water to it to just blend it through. Now, when I add the water, it's going to be very dry, so I'm not going to saturate my paper. I'm just going to give it just a little bit, just to blend the colours in a little bit on here. So we've got these all down at the bottom here, like this, and in on here, and in on here. And as I say, this is the nice thing, that I'm literally just looking at this picture here, so I can see exactly how I want it coloured. So always sort of try and look for images. So those are my 3 in the yellow. The next colour tone I want to do is a pink. Now, I don't think I've got anything that is pink. So what's the nearest thing to pink? Let's take the poppy and white. So we've got white and we've got poppy, which is the red. So what I need to do is, because I want to make this as pink as I can, so we've got this, it's going to be the peachy colour, so it's going to be this one here. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing in white to start off with. So that's all in white, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of the red just in like that. So that's that one. I've got this one as well, which is going to be the pink. So again, I'm just covering it in the white. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of this red in on here. I'm just not going to do any more than that, because I want to have the blending to come in on those flowers. So we're just going to take this one, and then on here it's just a little bit darker on here. We've got a little bit in on here. Okay, so that's that one. And then the last one is going to be the sort of purpley one, and I'm going to do that with the fuchsia. So this is fuchsia and white. So again, with the white, I'm going to be doing quite a lot of white in on here, and then just a little bit of the fuchsia coming in on here, and a little bit up on here. And then the other one is this one up on here, which is there. Keep having to look up to make sure that I'm in camera, because I've zoomed you in, and it makes it easier for you to see what I'm doing, but it means that I have to keep popping up to make sure that you're in camera still, because it's very easy. So that's there, and then here where it's dark, I'm just going to give the purple in on there, and that should come out quite pastely when I've finished with it. Okay, now I've got some leaves and things to do. So the leaves I'm going to do, I've got apple, I've got fell, and I've got teal, and I've got a leaf which I think is probably a little too green. So I think I'm going to use these ones. Let's do the apple one first. So this, I'm just taking these all up in here, and again I'm just, am I in on here? Yes, I am. So all I'm doing on here is to turn round and to make sure that I'm just adding some colour through on these leaves here. So I'm just bringing it up a bit so you can, yes, you can see on there, that's fine. So all of these little tiny bits of leaf, just bringing them up, all in the same colour to start off with. So I can just turn it round like this and go. You can see I turn my paper as I go because I find that easier for me to work with, because then I'm colouring in the line that the drawing is going in, and I find that easier. So I've got a few little bits up in on here, this on the top. Let's bring that back out like this, and then I've just got these little bits, a couple of bits sort of down on here, and then I've got these ones which are quite green. Yes, you can see that one okay, which is good. Let's bring it down just a tad like that. Now I'm just going to take a darker one, so this darker green, and if I take the picture down like this, I want the dark to come down on this side, so the light's coming this way, so all this side, my left hand side, is going to be just a little bit darker. So I'm literally just adding some dark down in on the underneath side, which is this bit, that bit, that bit, just as it comes down, so just on that left hand side like that. Okay, so I think that's probably all the colouring I need to do. Now we're going to take our water pens and we're going to blend it through. Now I'm going to bring you out for this because it's easier for you to see the whole picture and me doing it that way rather than trying to do it in just the tiny pieces. So I think it makes it easier because this part doesn't take very long. It can take as long as you want, but for me, I try and do it so it doesn't take very long. I'm just going to reach through and get a aqua painter in here. Well, there's not much water in that one, but it looks, oh, it looks quite a damp one. So I always try and get as much water off as I can because I want this fairly dry. So I'm going to start with this one on here. We've got the dark part, so I'm going to take the light in first. So I'm just taking the light in first and then bringing it down to where this dark is. And then I can just move this dark up. And you can see all it's doing is just blending the two in together. And you've then got that flower. So let's do this one, and again just blending that dark in on the center, and then where it's lighter up on here, just blend that through, and you can see that it just goes through quite nicely. And then we can do exactly the same in on this one, just where that dark is, blending it all through so it just comes through quite nicely on here, and it doesn't make it look too overly what do you call it, saturated. This paper is not very thick. So now let's have a look and see if we can do these ones with the red in. So I want to have a little bit of water in here to just blend it through. I might actually need one that's got a little bit more. Let's see if that one's better. That's better, I think. Okay, so this, I just want to blend it in. That's better. A little bit more water in this so that when I blend it through, it just makes it pink. You see on there? and this is the other pink one, isn't it? So this one. So again, I just want to blend it through into the white. So as I say, if you haven't got any pinks, you can create the pink just by adding the white in there. And again with this one, so I'm just blending it up through. So we have a rather nice pink tulip in here. And then, so that's those three. And then I've got this one here, which is the purple one. I can bring that up in on here, and that just gives that purple colour on there. And we've just got this one on here. So again, having it with white, you know that you're blending it through and you're getting a really rather nice pastel-y colour in on there. Okay, so that's those. Then I need to just do these leaves. So we'll start up the top here. And I'm just blending those through. So I've got my dark and my light coming through. Which, as I say, you can see that it just blends it through nicely. And that's one of the nice things about working with watercolour pencils. And I work with both, as you know, so I shall show you one that I did with alcohol markers, which you get just a different look. It's slightly more like an illustrated look, if that makes sense. So I'm just bringing this up, this one, and just doing these little ones here. There we go. Okay, so that's given us all of the colour on there. And if I then bring this in, you can see how it's very, very similar in colouring. And I've just done that with watercolour pencils. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to create more in the background of this. So I'm taking this stencil. I've done it with some blue, so we're going to have a bit of blue and green on here, I think. But I'm going to take this to here. I don't think it'll go right the way across both bits. Probably not. It might do, actually. It might actually just fit across both. So I'm going to take it across. I'm going to take a sponge dauber, and I'm doing this in green. So I've taken out, here we go. I've taken out this green, which is a sort of a mid-tone green. It's called Wild Wasabi. It's one that's been retired for quite a while, but it was one of my absolute favourites when it was out. So I tend to bring it out because it's a really nice mid-tone of green. So let me just open this pad up. I'm going to take this and move this back up in, hopefully without jogging the camera. Look at that. Getting quite good at doing this on my shelf now. Okay, so just get some green up, and I'm just going to just sort of start sponging through. Now I'm going in to sort of as close up to the flowers as I can, quite lightly, and then just rubbing it through. So I don't want it, I just want it to be a complete background on here. And this is where stencils can be quite fun, because you get a really nice background without it being overly done, if you see what I mean. So I'm not even going to move this at all, actually. I'm just going to keep it where it is, because I think that that will work perfectly. So again, you don't necessarily want it to be too bright. You just want some colour in on here. So I'm adding a little bit, but I'm not overly pressing. I'm just doing it quite gently because I don't want it to be overly bright. I just want it to be a nice background. Now you can do it in several different colours of green if you wanted to, but I'm just doing it like this. And if you look, you can just see you've just got a really lovely background on there. and that's just sort of made it all sort of pop, which is quite nice. And you can just wash your stencils out in just ordinary water, tap water, in the sink, absolutely fine. A little bit of washing up liquid if you want to, that will work. But this has now brought out the beautiful colour. Now I'm going to add a little bit of something else to it. So I've got my lovely fine pens, which are my Posca pens, and I want to just add a little bit of silver on this for my highlights. So I'm just going to take this out, and where these pieces are here, I'm just going to add just a little bit of silver in on here, just a tad, maybe a little bit down on the bottom. I'm just going to take it up, just a few little pieces, maybe a bit on there, and it doesn't have to be overly detailed. You know, you can just sort of add, I'm just doing little sort of flicking motions just to add a little bit of colour here and there. And it just gives a little bit of detail here and there. And you can see I'm sometimes doing it from the bottom up with a flick, sometimes down, and then some of these leaves as well. Just take a little bit like this, and particularly down here where it's quite dark, where it's stamped, it's quite nice to just bring sort of a bit of a leaf coming through on here, maybe a bit of a leaf coming down on this way, bring that in from there. And as I say, you don't have to do too much, just enough that you've got a little bit on here in the silver. Now I'm going to take the white, because the white's going to give me a bit of highlight. So just in on the top of these sorts of bits on here, I'm just adding just a little bit of white on here, so on these little tips. And then just on here where the little tips are on these, just a little bit, because it just adds, when it dries, just a little bit of highlight on there, which always, I think, just makes a little bit of difference, because you're just adding just a little bit of highlights and lowlights and things like that in there, which just makes it look a little bit better. Okay, so then I'm going to take the heavier ones, so I've got the thick and the thin, and I'm going to do a silver around the edge of this one. So let me just take my ruler. And the thick one I like because it gives you more of a defined angle on there. So I'm just taking it like that. I can turn it round so that then we've got the silver running through on both bits. Now if you wanted to, you could take it in black, and I'll show the other one in black, but I don't always want to have the black. And because I did this in the grey, which was, I can't remember what it's called, moonlit something or other, I don't think I need to have, there we go, I don't think I need to have any more like that. Now, base card for this one, I think I'm going to have it in a spotty grey, because I think that that will work with those colours. Or I could have a green. I'm going to take two out and we'll see which ones we like. So I've got this one, which is a spotty grey, which I think might look quite nice, because that will go quite nicely with the green. but I think that this green here will probably look better. Yes, that looks better, doesn't it? So if you put that down, that looks better on there. Now what I'd probably do is to put, you know, word spring or something like that on it to make it a rather nice card. And I will show you the one I did before. So that's the one I did before. And I did the silver, but then I did take it round in black because this was done in black. So if I look at these two, that's a subtler look. That's more of a darker look because of the black. And I don't know which one I prefer. I like both of them. This is more sort of watercolour. And as I say, I will put a spring or something like that on there. Just to sort of make it, you know, more of a spring flower. But if you look for inspiration for colouring, I've taken this. So you can see on here that those are the colours that I wanted to replicate, which was on the stamp. And that's how I took those out with watercolour pencils. And then this one was how I did it with alcohol markers. So I hope you've enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.